Back with another one. I got this little light, y'all, from Timo for $4. I'm trying to create like a little studio out with what I have. You know what I mean? Oh, shoot. Okay. So, welcome back. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. I don't understand. When you come in the room, just hit the like button. It helps with the algorithm. I'm back at it. I took a few weeks off because I work these two jobs and I get tired. I really do. And sometimes I don't want to think about nothing, you know? So we're going back into our book, The New World Order by Ralph Epperson, chapter shoot, 15, 16 and 17. Marx and Hitler are Satanists. And yes, they were. And this is a little bit on secret society. So let's read and I'll comment with things I already know. Chapter 16, Karl Marx, Satanists. Other secret societies prospered as well, and some of the historic figures of the past belong to them. And the fact that these people belong to these secret societies has generally not been acknowledged by historians who have written the accidental school of Marx. The theory that the major events happen by accident, everything is planned, especially when it comes to they don't do anything without planning. They'll tell you stuff 20 years ago that's just now coming to pass. This view holds that the major events of the past have happened by design. I just said that. The glasses are crooked. I just said that. People plan wars, depressions, inflation, and revolutions years in advance. Didn't I just say that? And I didn't know I was going to read that. Wow. One of these individuals was Karl Marx, the so called father of communism. Mr. Marx had been born into a religious family. His family was Jewish and had converted to Christianity shortly before his birth. Karl was later baptized into the Protestant faith. Now, I didn't even know that. Marx's first written work was called The Union of the Faithful with Christ, in which he wrote, "Through love of Christ we turn our hearts at the same time to our brethren who are inwardly bound to us and whom he gave himself in sacrifice." Just a short time later, he wrote this poem he entitled The Pale Maiden. Thus heaven I forfeited, I know it full well. My soul, once true to God, is chosen for hell. Wow. So he basically telling you he sold his soul. Yep. Wow. George John, another Satanist, is a friend of Marx during this time, added the comment about Marx's attitude. Marx would surely chase God from his heaven and will even sue him. Marx calls the Christian religion one of the most immoral of religions. Marx confirmed this position that something had changed his mind about Christianity with these questions from his writings. The abolition of religion as the illusionary happiness of man is a demand for their real happiness. I wish to avenge myself against the one who rules above. Wow. Wow. We must war against all prevailing ideas of religion, of the state or country, of patriotism. And that's the last two things that standing against the New World Order. The Patriots and Iran. Once they gone, that's it. Everything else is conquered. Oh, except for that African ruler, the BRICS in Africa. I forgot. Now they standing in the way because they got the BRICS, those African countries. And that man, oh my God, what country are you over? It's not Kenya, it's not Nigeria. It's a little country. Is it Gabon? Maybe it's Gabon. Again, wherever he over, he eliminated their debt, paid them back, and kicked France out. Oh my God. Yes, so the African countries are rising up to their rightful place now. That's another thing. Okay. Something had indeed changed Marx's view of Christianity. We must war against all prevailing ideas of religion, of the state or country, of patriotism. I ain't know the thing made noise. Of patriotism, the idea God is the keynote or a perverted. The idea of God is the keynote of a perverted civilization. It must be destroyed. Wow. As can be illustrated by his own writing, something had not only changed his idea about Christianity, but something had changed his ideas on what God had taught men through the Bible. Marx was now being critical of God's instructions above, how to worship the Creator, how to create a nation to protect God given rights, why to establish and maintain national borders. This book was written in the late 80s. Why to establish and maintain national borders. See how far go back they go to plan stuff. Now that is almost 40 years ago. Hey, welcome back. Almost 40 years ago. How does screen look? Danye, come here. How does look? Okay, my bad. How to create the condition under which all could be free to love their creator. All of these ideas have biblical foundation. All of these principles were taught in the Bible. Each of these ideas have been tested by a variety of civilizations for many centuries. But as you can see from his writings, Marx wanted to war against all of these biblical principles. Something had indeed changed his mind. In addition, Marx had found another bulwark of God's plan for man to be unsatisfactory. He also discovered he had to war against the family. Wow. Abolition of the family. Abolish the family. You see it now, it's been happening since the 60s. Look at 50 years how we evolved with the destruction of the family. 50 years. Even the most radical. Oh, this little Timu thing made. Oh, it made noise. I don't know how you turn it off. Maybe I'm gonna leave it on another color. Well, that stopped spinning around. He also discovered he had to war against the family. Marx wrote this in the Communist Manifesto. Abolish the family. Even the most radical flare up that this infamous proposal of the communists. His bitterness towards the family unit caused members of his own family to suffer as well. Archer Conan, in his book Karl Marx, A Psychogram, writes about Karl's life, including the suicide of two daughters and a son in law. Or was they really a suicide? His daughter Lauren, married to the socialist Lefebvre, also buried three of her children. Then she and her husband committed suicide together. Wow, I never knew this. How does look? Leave a comment. Is it nice? Another daughter, Eleanor, decided with her husband to do likewise. She died. He backed out of the plan last minute. That is deep. Marx further showed his disdain for the family unit by fathering a child with his own personal maid. She was a gift from his mother-in-law upon the occasion of Marx's wedding. Apparently, he found no hypocrisy in the fact that he had a maid at at the time. He considered himself to be a champion of the working man. Marx railed against the rich and the perverse, those who were wealthy enough to have had maids, but he had one himself. Right. Is it possible to understand a small degree of the utter despair that Jenny von Westphal, Karl Marx's wife, must have been must have felt being married to a man who allowed such tragedies to occur? Marx was quoted as writing, "Daily my wife tells me she wishes she were lying in the grave with the children, and I cannot blame her." He must have been an awful man. Oh yeah, he had to be awful. Wow. He had to probably be abusive, a narcissist. I'm trying to fix my God. A narcissist. Dang. I could only imagine what he really was for his wife to wish she was there with his children. But the historians who have probed Marx's background have generally failed to uncover the reason that he had become so bitter against Christianity and all of its teachings. A few honest historians have discovered the something that changed Marx's views, and that something was Satan worship. I had to do it. Marx had discovered the world of the occult. Marx had first been brought to the idea of socialism by Moses Hess when he was 23. 2 plus 3 is 5. Yep. But the most important influence in his young life was the worship of Satan. Many of the trends had discovered this religion before he had. One was Mikhail Buk, Buchanan, a Russian antichrist, who wrote, Satan is the first free thinker and savior of the world. He frees Adam and impresses the seal of humanity and liberty on his forehead by making him disobedient. Wow. Another friend of Marx was Pierre Proudhon, a French socialist and writer. Marx had been introduced to Proudhon by Hess. Mr. Proudhon worshipped Satan, according to a book about him and his relationship with Karl Marx. He had written that God was the prototype for injustice. We reach knowledge in spite of him. We reach society in spite of him. Every step forward is a victory in which we overcome the divine. This is deep. God is stupidity and cowardice. God is hypocrisy and falsehood. God is tyranny and poverty. God is evil. Wow. Now, my God is a true and living God, Yahweh, and his son is Yeshua. However, Fear the Lord is wisdom, because he will unalive you as he did the Amalekites, so many civilizations back in the day, and people take him for granted. This is tripping me out. Wow. Where humanity where humanity bows before an altar, humanity, the slave of kings and priests, will be condemned. Wow. I swear, God, with my hand stretched out towards the heavens, that you are nothing more than the executioner of my reason, the scepter of my conscience. God is essentially anti civilized, anti liberal, and anti human. This was written by Karl Marx's good friend, Pierre. I'm really speechless at this point. I had no idea it went to this death in the occult. Wow. Okay. Here, Protem declared God to be evil because he believed that God had denied man his ability to reason. Notice that the thoughts of these men were not those of an atheist. Marx and his friends at the stage of their lives were not atheists as present day Marxists describe themselves. That is why they openly denounced and reviled God. They hated him. While they acknowledged his existence, they did not challenge his existence. They challenged his supremacy. The thing that changed Mark's views about life was the fact that he discovered the world of Satan worship. Mm. There is evidence that he had joined a satanic cult headed by Joanna Southscott, a satanic priestess who considered herself to be in contact with a demon named Shiloh. One of the distinguishing characteristics of his membership in this cult was this long hair and unkempt beard worn by members of her cult. Proudhon also wore his hair in a similar manner, and it was quite likely when he was a member of this cult as well. Other communists have declared their hatred of God. One other communist named Florina wrote this in 1871. Our enemy is God. Hatred of God is the beginning of wisdom. Everything Yah writes and his son Yahshua writes, they take it, pervert it, and twist it. Because the Bible says the beginning, what does it say? I just said it. This is our strength. Whatever I just said, because this has just floored me. Another notable communist, Nikolai Lenin, the father of the Communist Revolution of 1917 in Russia, also voiced his hatred of God and religion. Now, I didn't even know Lenin was a Satanist. I am floored right now. He wrote the following comments. Atheism is the intro part of Marxism. Marxism is materialism. We must combat religion. We, of course, say that we do not believe in God. We do not believe in internal morality. That is moral that serves the destruction of the old society. Everything is moral, which is necessary for the annihilation of the old exploiting social order. Lenin wished to destroy the old world order and replace it with the new world order, and for uniting the proletariat, which is the working class. We must combat religion. Down with religion. Long live atheism. The spread of atheism is our chief task. Communism abolish eternal truth. He abolishes all religion and morality. Look at it now. Religion is a kind of spiritual intoxicant in which the slaves of the capital drown their humanity and blunt their desire for decent human experience. We shall always preach a scientific philosophy. We must fight against the inconsistencies of the Christian. Wow. Lenin, the Marx before him, came from a religious family. Note that most of these converters come from religious family. So that means Satan was after them from birth. From birth. His father was a school inspector and a devout member of the Russian Orthodox Church. But at the age of 18, Lenin started reading Karl Marx and soon was expounding Marx's principle. He later wrote, atheism is a natural, inseparable portion of Marxism, of the theory and practice of scientific socialism. Our propaganda necessarily includes propaganda for atheism. Other communists have joined the rank in religion. Nikita Khrushchev, a Russian dictator who embraced the communist theology during the time he spent at the top of the Russian government. He wrote, do not think that communists have changed their minds about religion. We remain the atheists that we have always been. We are doing as much as we can to liberate these people who are still under the spell of the religious opiate. But notice that Mr. Krosnoff went on a step further than some of the other atheists. He stated that the task of the communist atheists was to liberate the God-fearers from their God. Thus, obviously, it's the task not only by the communists but also the New World Order. Others more recently have praised Marxism. One other person inside was Jimmy Carter's cabinet. His name was Zingli Benitsky. He is the professor at Harvard that was Obama's mentor. Obama was backed by Soros, Kissinger, and this guy Benitsky. He was chosen after that 2008 speech, and they trained him. He's atheist too. So here we go. Anyway, now back then, Benitsky was the special assistant to the president for national security affairs. Ah, before he became a okay. He was or is also director of the Research Institute on International Change, professor of public law and government, and a member of the Russian Institute, all at Columbia University. I said wrong, Columbia. Dang, they seen him in college and they got him. Damn. And in 2000, they were raising him up. And then by that time, he became senator, the youngest senator out of Illinois. And then he gave that 2008 speech. I see it. Marxist represents a further vital and creative stage in the measuring of man's universal vision. Marxism is simultaneously a victory of the external, active man over the inner, passive man, and the victory of reason over belief. Marxism has served as a mechanism of human progress, even its practice has often fallen short of its ideas. Tilde de Charon, a modern day Jesuit theologian and writer, notes at one point that, monstrous as it is, if not modern totalitarianism, really the distortion of something magnificent and thus quite near to the truth. I got to talk about The Pope to open up them five portals. Ain't no telling what demons coming out of that, right? Same thing, Jesuit. The Pope, Jesuit. All were in religion but became Satanists. Wow. Mm. What will probably remain the major contribution of Marxism is revolutionary and broadening influence which opened man's mind to previously ignored perspective not dramatized conscious. Marxism disseminated on the popular level in the form of communism, representing a major advance in man's ability to conceptualize the relationship to the world. It is one thing to make all these favorite comments about Marxism, and it's another to actually test the theory against the reality. There are nations around the world that have applied Marxist theories. It is now possible to measure the promises against the actuality. The revolution in Russia was the first successful attempt to create a government in a nation based upon the theories of Marxism, the victory of reason over belief. China as a nation experienced a similar fate during the Communist Revolution of 1923. Professor Richard Walker, in an official government report released by the Senate 1971, estimated that the total debt in China might go as high as 64 million who had experienced the Marxist victory of reason over belief. They killed 64 million people. A tourist visiting China after the United States have established diplomatic relations with the nation in 1973 shared his thoughts about how Marxism had worked in China. In an article he wrote August 10, 1973, the article was entitled From a China Traveler and was written by a tourist American banker, David Rockefeller. You can't make this up. Wow. This is what he wrote. Whatever the price of the Chinese Revolution at 64 million killed, it was obviously succeeded not only in producing more efficient and dedicated administration, but also is fostering high morale and community purpose. After reading the comment, the student might recall the statement by Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Illuminati. Behold our secret. Remember that the end justifies the means. No one but Mr. Rockefeller knows what he meant by that comment of 64,000 Chinese that were brutally killed by Marxist communists. But the result certainly justified their death. He was sorry that the 64 million Chinese had to die in the revolution, but it was a small price to pay for the efficient administration and community purpose. Don't forget the end justifies the means. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. And the student is not to forget Zelensky Berninsky, who groomed Obama, wrote that Marxism was a victory of reason over belief. Perhaps the best example of someone using reason over belief was the story offered by Whittaker Chambers, a former member of the Communist Party in America who decided to break with the party. And this is what he said: Communism is what happens when, in the name of mind, men free themselves from God. That is deep. So your intellect, it's like the Pharisees, your intellectual mind. Where is that? Communism is what happens when, in the name of mind, intellectual reason, men free themselves from God. Oh, that's deep. Oh, that's deep. That's deep. Mr. Chambers also wrote a story in The Witness, but I date my break from a very casual happening. I was sitting in my apartment on St. Paul Street in Baltimore. My daughter was in a high chair. I was watching her eat. She was the most miraculous thing that had ever happened in my life. I like to watch her. Had ever anyway. I tried to watch her even when she had a pool in her face or in her hair. My eyes kept to rest in the delicate convolutions of her ear. These intrinsic perfect ears, I thought. No, these ears were not created by any chance coming together of atoms in the nature, the view of the communists. They could have been created by a misdesign. The thought was involuntary and unwanted. I crowded it out of my head, but I never wholly forget that it was the occasion I had to crowd it out of my mind. If I had completed it, I should have had to say design presupposes God. I did not then know that at the moment the finger of God was first laid upon my forehead. He later wrote, a communist meaning someone who believes that Marxism is a victory of reason over belief, breaks because he must choose at her last incredible opposites, God or man, soul or mind, freedom or communism. Mr. Chambers had figured it out. Marx, Lenin, Bernanke, and Rockefeller apparently had not. Wow, that was deep. Dang, that was deep. That was good. Hitler was a Satanist as well. This chapter 17, it ain't but a couple pages there. And I'm going to get out of this and I think I'm going to talk about. No, maybe I'll do Fat Joe. I don't know. Yeah. At Adolf Hitler's Satanist, chapter 17. Another individual who joined a secret society was Adolf Hitler, the head of the Nazi Party in Germany. He joined a secret society called the Thug Society. Surely is on my thing with the secret society. I will be talking about the Thug Society, termed the secret prime mover of Nazism. And it's a rare historian who has written about this. The authors of the book on this organization wrote, it is in the Thule Society that one has to look for the real inspiration of Nazism. The Thule Society had inventing roots, it was itself, but a fragment of much more important secret society known as Germanic Order, founded in 1912. That organization had an origin in other secret societies. All this deep. They had gathered together certain judges of the pre- Persian Freemasonry as well as a number of openly anti Semitic associations. Perusian, my bad, Perusian. The importance of the Thule Society is in the formation of the Nazi Party is now becoming discovered, but not generally by historians who wrote the accidental school of history. The committee and the 40 original members of the new German Workers' Party were all drawn from the most powerful occult society in Germany, the Thule Society. society. Oh, I'm gonna get into it when I get to that part of secret societies. But the most revealing statement made about the society was that the major leaders all had one common religion. The inner core within the Thule Society were all Satanists and they practiced black magic. That, come on, come on. Another writer of the Thule Society, Joseph Carr, who had written a book entitled The Twisted Cross. In it, he makes the observation the inner group which controlled the Thule Society contained men who were self confessed Luciferian. Illuminati and most people in these subgroups are all Luciferians. They worship the Luciferian doctrine. They do. Or Satanists or whatever you want to call them. So the evidence in Hitler himself absorbed the works of the tragic philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, whose powerful dissertation on the genealogy of morals sought to make a revolution of all values in the proud that so-called evil was good and what was habitually believed to be good was evil. Here's the thought again that the God of the Bible is evil, and somehow the good God considered to be evil is good. And that was needed was the revolution of morals. In other words, that which has been taught by biblical good God has to be eliminated and a new system comes forth. These thoughts will be examined later in the study, but Hitler had also announced the role of Freemasonry in his life. We're going to get into that too. In Hitler's observation published under the Hitler Speaks, one can rediscover the important role played by German Freemasonry as a model for esoteric structuring of the Nazi Party. Just like so many other secret societies, the Thule Society had an esoteric structuring that must have been meant that there were two classes of members. Exactly. Those who knew what the secret was and those who didn't. But there's evidence that Adolf Hitler was one of the members of the society that knew. You think? The man who played the most important role in Hitler's life was Dietrich Eckart, one of the original seven who founded the Nazi Party and who was in fact called the spiritual father of Nazism. One writer wrote just how important Eckart was in Hitler's life. Adolf Hitler himself considered Eckart as the most important influence in his life. It is known that Eckart had experimented with numerous drugs in an attempt to reach higher consciousness. It is now being discovered that Hitler also attempted the same thing. Wow. Hitler attained higher levels of consciousness by the meaning of drugs and made a penetrating study of medieval occultism and ritual magic. Edhard Quad is called a dedicated Satanist and the central figure in a powerful and widespread order of occultists, the Thule Society. Ooh. But he also believed in the future appearance of the Lord Maitreya, the Hope New Age Messiah. Lockhart in a series of what? Seances with two Russian generals who had left their native land to come to Germany. During these seances, Ecker said his associates were told of the imminent appearance of the German Lord Maitreya, and we talked about that in other videos. And he deliberately guided the career Hitler into the occult world of Satan and Lucifer worship. When he lay dying, he told those gathered at his bedside, "Follow Hitler. He will dance, but it is I who have called the tune. I have initiated him into the secret doctrine, Madame Blavatsky. Ooh, open his center in vision and given him the means to communicate with the powers. Oh my, straight say, oh, if this ain't good to y'all, I don't know, but I guess you gotta love history. Wow. He gave him the power to communicate with the powers, the demons. The secret doctor, Helena Bavant. Wow. Do not mourn for me. I shall have influenced history more than any other German. Eckhart claimed to his fellow adepts in the Thule Society that he had personally received a kind of satanic communication, meaning announcement that he was destined to prepare the vessel of the Antichrist, the man inspired by Lucifer to conquer the world and to lead the Aryan race to victory. And so the Aryan race, so are the Aryan, mm, so the skinheads and all that, I wonder, are they all Satanists? I'm gonna have to really, wow, this is the Aryan Nation. Wow. Another of the links of the Thule Society were Lucifer worshiper is the emblem chosen as the symbol of Nazi party itself, the swastika. The dictionary defines a swastika as a cross with its four equal arms bent back into the right angle extension. There are two forms of the symbol, one with its arms bent to the left and one with the arms bent to the right. The former is universally a symbol of good, while the latter is universally personally selected the final design of a Nazi blood flag, the one carrying the swastika as in representing the Nazi Party. He reversed the swastika from the one meant for good to the form that represents evil. Wow. Hitler had a model to base his selection on. The swastika was the symbol of the Thule Society. Its, its official insignia consisted of a swastika traversed by two lances. Manuel P. Hall, in a book entitled Lectures on Ancient Philosophy, wrote, the swastika is the swirling cross that represents the centralizing motion of the eternal all. I wonder, do these races know that they are really carrying an emblem, the swastika, the devil? I wonder, do they know this? I'm blown away right now. Mm. Wow. One of the original founders of the Soul Society, Rudolf von Sabotdorf, linked the swastika with another symbol, the sun. When he made this statement in November of 1918, I intend to commit the Soul Society to this combat. I swear on the swastika, on this sign which for us is sacred, in order that you hear, oh, magnificent son. So the swastika was a symbol of the Thug Society. It was a symbol of the Nazi Party. It was somehow connected to a symbol of the sun god, and the sun god was a symbol of Lucifer. And those who resisted the symbol of the swastika and all it represented had to pay for it with supreme sacrifice on the bloody altar of war. 50 million people died in World War II. 50 million people sacrificed to religion of Lucifer. All became the historians who wrote the accidental view of history. Somehow were unable to determine that Adolf Hitler had joined a Luciferian cult named the Thule Society, some 16 years before the war started. But remember, those who wrote the accidental view of history do not believe that conspirators plan wars inside secret societies. And they certainly do not believe that Lucifer is a being that is worshipped by secret societies. Damn, that was good. That was good, and that is a fact. But I believe most know. Wow. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment.